Welcome to this deep dive where we really try and take fascinating source material and pull out the really juicy bits for you.
Yeah.
Today we're diving headfirst into a document called Guide to Gaysex.pdf, and trust me, this isn't just some quick read. It's actually surprisingly detailed.
Oh, absolutely. It's pretty historical, too, looking at all sorts of sexual techniques, but also the attitudes around them.
Right, and when you look at what it covers, it's kind of remarkable.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about everything,
Yeah.
from something really personal like masturbation all the way to group sex.
Exactly.
And what's really interesting, I think, is that it goes beyond just the how-to.
Totally. It's not just a list. This guide really digs into the historical side, the cultural meanings,
Mhm.
and it even tackles some of the fears and, potential problems that might come up.
Right. Which is quite honest, really.
It is. It's like listening in on a very frank conversation that's been going on for ages. And just for anyone listening who might want to find the original, it seems like it was first up in the Herlun's file section on the Yahoo group back in the day.
Ah.
So our mission today is basically to pull out those key insights, those kind of unexpected facts.
Yeah, the aha moments.
Exactly. And get a much richer feel for these topics. We want to give you the info, quickly but thoroughly, hopefully spark some of those moments without just drowning you in information.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Starting with something that, well, seems really individual but has this surprisingly wide history. Masturbation.
Yeah, it's fascinating right off the bat, isn't it? Because we think of it as so solitary, but it actually has these deep roots, both in nature and across so many different human cultures. It's clearly not just some modern thing or purely personal.
Not at all. The guide actually kicks off by pointing out how common it is in the animal kingdom. Yeah, we're talking apes, monkeys, using their hands, feet, sometimes even their mouths.
Wow.
Then you've got spider monkeys and baboons using their tails in ways you probably wouldn't expect.
Okay.
Elephants use their trunks, which is quite the image.
Definitely.
And get this, there was even a scientist who saw a porcupine getting stimulated by straddling a stick.
You're kidding. A porcupine.
Yeah, it really makes you think about how fundamental this kind of self-exploration must be.
It really does. It highlights how basic, how widespread self-stimulation is just across so many species. And then when you look at human history, well, it takes on these really interesting, sometimes totally unexpected cultural meanings.
Absolutely. Like in ancient Egypt, it was actually tied to religious worship.
No way.
Yeah. The god Osiris apparently was believed to have created all living things through an act of, well, self-pleasure.
Okay.
And it was even linked to the flooding of the Nile, which was, essential for life there.
Right, right.
Pharaohs would even perform masturbation rituals before the image of the god when they were enthroned.
Wow. So public rituals?
Yeah, it led to public masturbation during religious ceremonies. The idea was expelling evil and honoring the gods of generation.
Ah.
So in Egypt, Phoenicia, Babylon, Assyria, it was part of their sacred stuff. Totally different picture than what came later, right?
It's a complete 180 when you think about later disapproval. And the guide also mentions it wasn't always about these big religious acts. Like the Bible even talks about the spilling of seed in ways that weren't religious.
Ah, okay.
Which suggests, it was also just something people did for pleasure outside of any sacred meaning.
Then you look at the ancient Greeks and Romans. They generally had a pretty relaxed attitude towards male sexuality.
Yeah, generally more open, right?
Totally. They even had a myth that Hermes, or Mercury for the Romans, actually invented masturbation. And they had words for it. Thripsis in Greek, meaning the rubbing, and masteratus in Latin. The guide suggests that while, specific records are hard to find, it's pretty likely they did it together sometimes, too.
Makes sense.
It's just fascinating how the cultural view changed so much later, with Christianity gaining influence.
It really is. But what's amazing is how positive the attitude stayed in lots of places in the Middle and Far East.
Yeah, that's a key point in the guide.
Arabian, Indian, Chinese, Japanese cultures.
Masturbation was often not just accepted, but sometimes even encouraged, like from a young age.
Crazy, isn't it? It makes you really question why attitudes were so different across the world.
Exactly.
There's this quote from Ibn Kamal Pasha saying, Iranian doctors believed rubbing and constant handling both make the virile member longer and thicker.
Oh my goodness.
Apparently, they even used it to soothe crying babies.
Wow.
And in Arabia, it was supposedly so common it was described as almost the custom of the land.
And the guide shares some really colorful slang terms from back then.
Yeah. Like what? Well, in Arabian slang, you had jeng, jelk, jerk, mushsini, all for different ways of doing it.
Huh.
In Turkey, it was istimnibiliyet, meaning something like self-control of the stalk. And in Persia, molish izab, meaning shampooing the cord.
Shampooing the cord. Okay.
These terms really give you a sense of how normal, how openly talked about it might have been.
And apparently, public baths were like a real hub for this. You could do it alone, with a friend, even with a masseur or a prostitute.
Wow.
The guide even throws in some pretty cheeky poetry from the time, like lines about fella and Negro having a very enthusiastic week, fueled by hashish, and this suggestive bit from the Persian poet Abu Nuwas.
Right.
It just paints this vivid picture of a much more open attitude back then.
It absolutely does. Then you shift to India, and again, it's woven into ancient Hindu mythology.
Right.
There's the story of Lord Shiva and Agni leading to the birth of Kartika.
Yeah.
And Krishna, the god of self-contemplation, became a symbol of it. Hatris, or manual orgasm, was even deified as something ritualistic. It shows how deep it was in their spiritual world.
And it was apparently relished extensively. They even had a term, panamathana.
Which means?
Hand churning.
Hand churning. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just amazing seeing how different cultures viewed it, integrated it.
Totally.
Then there are examples from China. Dr. Jacobus reporting young men in opium dens doing hours of mutual masturbation and anal sex.
Right.
And the Cossacks, apparently more excited by self and mutual masturbation than by sex with women.
Wow.
Having apparently, linked pleasure with it from a really early age, it just challenges our assumptions.
And the guide makes a point of highlighting cultures where mutual masturbation between guys wasn't just allowed, but sometimes encouraged.
Yeah, like where?
The Hopi, the Wojano, the Dahomians, the Namu, certain Melanesian groups, the Cubio, the Tikopia.
Yeah.
In some of these places, it was even expected between boys, sometimes between boys and married men, even if other same-sex stuff wasn't okay.
That's really interesting.
It just shows the incredibly diverse ways societies have, navigated and structured sex.
It certainly challenges that idea of masturbation being purely solitary, maybe even shameful.
Yeah.
It's clear it played all sorts of social and cultural roles.
Okay, so shifting focus now to the techniques themselves. The author of this guide, very positive view, calls it a joy, expresses the strong belief that, and I'm quoting here, God gave people hands with fingers so that we could stroke ourselves in pleasure and comfort.
Nice sentiment.
The main hurdle they see is just that feeling of embarrassment or guilt that so many people have.
Yeah, the guide really hammers home overcoming that embarrassment. Suggests practical stuff like, making sure you have privacy, learning to be quick if you need to.
Right.
Or even learning how to do it discreetly in public if the situation demands it. Very pragmatic.
And there's that rather memorable anecdote about the picnic.
Oh, yeah.
Standing in a crowd, feeling aroused by someone, and managing a quick release in his baggy pants.
Whoa, okay.
The guide even gives a cheeky tip about wearing tight underpants or learning to control ejaculation in those moments.
Definitely a vivid example of managing urges.
For sure. And then the guide gets into the more detailed mechanics, focuses on the frenum.
Okay, so the frenum, that little ridge on the underside of the head.
Exactly. The guide points out it has a ton of nerve endings, super sensitive.
Right.
Says basically any friction there can be really arousing.
And it really stresses that everyone develops their own style, right?
Totally. What feels amazing for one person might do nothing for someone else.
Yeah.
It talks about different ways to hold the penis, pressure, speed, using the foreskin if you have one, all those really personal preferences.
And fantasy, of course.
Yeah.
That's highlighted as a key.
Big time. You might be imagining someone specific or yourself somewhere else, a past experience, a secret wish.
Right.
It encourages embracing those fantasies, no matter how unusual they might seem. It's all part of your experience.
And there's this idea presented of loving yourself through masturbation.
Yeah, seeing it as self-care, appreciating your body, connecting the physical and mental.
Framing it as something deeply personal, potentially quite meaningful.
Yeah. Then comes this very detailed masturbation fantasy section in the guide.
Right. Almost like a script.
Exactly. A step-by-step for exploring your own body, setting the mood with music, candles, maybe using oil, and starting by focusing on different body parts, head downwards, noticing textures, sensations, hitting erogenous zones, and then eventually stimulating the penis.
Yeah, it's incredibly descriptive. Exploring hair, face, nipples, stomach, thighs. then testicles and penis.
Tracing the shape, feeling sensitivities, then gentle squeezing and stroking, being really present with your own body.
And it details using oil, cradling the testicles, sliding the hand, finding a rhythm.
Right. Exploring different ways to boost pleasure, like gently stretching the foreskin.
It even mentions variations like doing it in the bath or shower or in front of the mirror.
Yeah, to watch yourself. And adding postillioning, which we'll get to later, the anal finger play, and the benefits, presented as pretty significant. Wholeness, self-creation, renewal.
But it does acknowledge what it can't provide. Right. Like another person's touch.
Exactly. It admits the limitations, but it also connects it to your overall body image and other sex experiences.
The idea being, if you have a positive relationship with your own body, that likely shows up in your self-pleasure.
Right. And that this kind of intimate self-exploration can be akin to the intimacy you share with someone else.
And it's also framed as something shareable, right? Like masturbating while someone watches or incorporating it into other acts.
Yeah, like fellatio or anal sex. It's seen as foundational, pleasurable, alone or with someone.
So the guide really pushes for respect and relaxation around it, pushing back against the idea it's immature or unsophisticated.
Exactly. Makes the point that for many, it's actually their favorite sexual activity, and preferring it is totally okay. And there's that final story about the sophisticated guy who secretly just wanted to masturbate while having his testicles gently held.
Good reminder that everyone's different. Desires can be unexpected.
For sure. Okay, so we've covered solo quite a bit. Let's move on to masturbation with another person. Mutual masturbation.
Yeah, and what's interesting here is the focus on it being deeply intimate.
Right. Not just about simultaneous orgasm.
Yeah, exactly. It's presented as more than that. Lying together, building trust, feeling caressed, sharing something potentially quite meaningful emotionally.
Yeah, described as going beyond just tension release. It's about being fully present, sharing sensuality, maybe deepening a connection.
The guide encourages taking your time, really savoring the feel of the other person's body, textures, firmness, warmth.
Like giving someone else that same focused attention you might give yourself in that masturbation fantasy thing.
Exactly. And it highlights the chance to learn about similarities and differences in arousal, climax, overall style.
Yeah.
And communication is stressed heavily, talking about preferences, what feels good, what doesn't. That shared vulnerability can really boost intimacy.
It seems like there's a lot of room for variation here, too.
Totally. Close and wet caressing, slow and relaxed, holding each other, one person doing the work, massages, holding testicles.
Even keeping clothes on for a different feel. Showering together. Public fondling.
All suggested as ways to explore that shared intimacy.
Okay. And when you're the one doing the masturbating for someone else...
The guide emphasizes really paying attention, relying on their feedback, acknowledges it's different from doing it to yourself.
Right, you can't feel what they feel.
Exactly. So it's okay if you don't get it right immediately. Communication about pressure, rhythm, comfort, that's absolutely key.
And what about simultaneous orgasms in this context?
The guide's pretty chill about it. Says, nice if it happens, but don't make it the main goal.
Right, don't force it.
Yeah. Trying too hard to coordinate can be tricky and maybe take away from just enjoying the connection and pleasure spontaneously. Focus on shared pleasure, however it happens.
Makes sense. Okay, so moving beyond just hands-on penis stuff, the guide gets into related techniques of shared intimacy.
Right, things involving close physical contact, but maybe not direct genital manipulation.
Yeah.
Still aiming for arousal and pleasure.
Okay, like what? First up is body rubbing, also called the Princeton rub. Described as two people moving against each other, no hands directly involved, either dry or maybe with oil for a more slippery feel.
Yeah, there's a caution.
Yeah, mentions some might find it can lead to chafing or even temporary numbness from the friction. Explains movements like wriggling, pelvic thrusting.
Okay. Then there's interfemoral intercourse, the Oxford style.
Right. One person lies on their back, thighs tight together. The other lies on top, thrusts their penis between the legs, usually just below the crotch.
Dry or lubed.
Either. The guide acknowledges it might seem odd to some, but points out it's actually pretty common in various cultures.
And this can be done from behind, too.
Yeah. One person on their stomach, the other on top, thrusting between the buttocks, but not actually penetrating the anus.
The Greeks had a name for that.
They did. Pigisma. Roughly translates to buttockery. Buttockery. Okay. Interesting how these variations have names.
The guide also mentions armpit knee intercourse,
How does that work?
One person creates a tight space, like holding their arm close or bending their knee tightly. The other inserts their lubricated penis into that space, moves in and out using the pressure. Definitely unconventional.
And finally, moving on the perineum.
Yeah. One partner lies on their back, knees to chest. The other lies between their legs, penis resting on the perineum, that spot between the testicles and anus.
Okay.
Body motions and thrusting create pleasure, and the closeness makes kissing easy.
Got it. Okay, let's shift gears. Oral pleasure, fellatio.
The guide takes us on a bit of a historical tour here. Suggests it was probably enjoyed way back, maybe even learned from watching animals lick each other.
Huh. Makes you think about natural curiosity, exploring pleasure.
It mentions Old Testament references to people around the Sodomites and suggests those ancient cultures, Babylonians, Philistines, Egyptians, probably knew about penis sucking. There are even some old Egyptian pictures that might hint at it.
Intriguing possibilities.
In ancient Greece, it was called playing the flute. Praised by poets like Priapus, Martial, Lucian, suggests it was pretty widespread and accepted.
Playing the flute, huh?
Yeah. And the Egyptians apparently called it sore throat. Quite colorful.
And Lucian's account of T. Marcus enjoying both roles.
Yeah, shows even back then, perspectives and preferences varied, not always rigid roles. Medieval period, it got lumped under sodomia with anal intercourse, so specific records are tricky.
But probably still happened.
Very likely continued, the guide suggests, even if underground.
In more modern times. Hirschfeld's research.
Yeah, around the turn of the 20th century, estimated about 40% of gay German men practiced it. Also notes that while anal sex is usually more common, fellatio is reportedly more frequent among the Crow Indians in North America.
Interesting cultural difference.
Then India long history, mentioned in the Kama Sutra as mouth congress, mukamathuna, amarchusi.
Mouth congress.
Praised highly from North Africa eastward, often seen as more intimate than genital union, speaks to the emotional connection.
There's that blunt quote from Turkey. Penis sucking is better than fucking.
Right. And the Arabic slang Kurds, it even includes a graphic account from Malaya of a sex party.
Whoa.
A boy orally receiving semen down to the last drop. Really shows how valued, how cultivated it's been in places.
Okay, so basic principles and techniques. The guide stresses
Roy.
no single right way.
Exactly. It's about two unique people sharing pleasure, touch, care, consciousness, relaxation, mutual enjoyment, way more important than rigid rules.
It should feel joyful, easygoing, agreeable, inviting for both.
If it stops being fun, stop and figure out why. At its core, it's just penis and mouth contact. A different kind of kiss, maybe.
Okay. Exploring with the mouth. Gentle kissing first.
Yeah. Then using lips and tongue to feel shape, skin texture, thickness. Focusing on the glands, the meatus, the opening, the frenum, foreskin, scrotum.
Really exploring.
Suggest gently exploring inside your own mouth, too. Noting jaw stretch, gag reflex.
And the experience for the person doing it.
Describes warm closeness, intimacy, especially with care and trust. Highlights that emotional connection.
Basic techniques. Licking all over. Gentle sucking. Slicking the tongue.
And the simple up and down sliding motion. Emphasizes saliva as lubricant. Suggests sliding deep, then drawing out slowly, exploring sensations.
Bringing someone to orgasm this way.
Advises firm but not painful lip pressure around the head, moving your head up and down like a yes nod.
Yeah.
Relax the rest of the mouth, find a rhythm. Maybe use shoulders and back for more energy.
Managing gagging, that comes up, right?
Yeah. Suggests using one hand on the lower penis while the mouth focuses on top. Or, hand at the base, pull skin slightly taut, can increase sensation, help control depth.
Advanced techniques, simultaneous sideways head motions, like, no.
Yeah, coordinated with the up and down sliding. But advises learning one thing at a time, taking it slow, focusing on what feels good for both.
And the author shares a personal, almost spiritual feeling about the basic up and down.
Yeah, it describes it feeling fundamental, maybe triggering a sense of ancient meaning, life-affirming energy, shows how personal and evocative it can be.
Okay, so once you have the basics down, there's always more to explore, add variety.
Right. The guide suggests an around-the-world approach.
Which involves?
Starting with kissing, licking the body, moving down to the crotch, then flicking the perineum, gently tonguing the scrotum, playfully called chewing gum, and potentially including ribbing if both are comfortable.
Stimulating the penis itself. Kneading, kissing, nibbling, harder sucking on the crown.
Yeah, to achieve or maintain erection. Varied touches heighten sensation.
There's the Shirley Temple technique.
Broad, languorous lapping strokes, soft, thick, rounded tongue, smooth, encompassing movements.
Combining techniques. Mouth on top, hand on the shaft. Or between flattened palms.
Yeah, that multisensory approach can be really effective.
More complex stuff. Rhythmical sliding, side-to-side head motion, while circling the glands and corona with the tongue.
Exactly. Incorporating multiple simulations at once.
The Oriental style. Moving the whole upper body.
Yeah, from the waist, like an old washerwoman.
Yeah.
While sitting on their chest or between their legs, uses your whole body.
And throat play. For the adventurous.
Suggests taking more penis into the throat, gentle swallowing motions, maybe shaking the head slightly. Definitely approach with care and communication.
Now, body positions, finding the right one can really enhance things, right? Comfort, connection.
Definitely. Guide describes standard positions. Person being fellated on their back, partner at their side, allows mutual fondling.
Or partner sitting gleaming between their legs.
Right. Facing them gives the fellator more movement, easier tongue on frenum contact.
But lots of other options beyond basic.
Oh yeah. Person being fellated sitting, standing, leaning. Partner kneels. Fun in the shower, maybe.
Or person on back, knees up, partner kneels or sits on their chest.
Allows deep fellatio, mutual fondling, even rimming becomes accessible.
The unconventional one. Lying upside down in a chair or car seat, partner stands and bends over. Yeah. Really emphasizes thinking outside the box.
So the message is flexibility, creativity.
Totally. Lying, sitting, standing, indoors, outdoors. Use furniture, natural elements, make it interesting.
Okay, but let's be real. Things don't always go perfectly. The guide addresses common problems during fellatio.
It does. Gagging is probably number one. Explains it's natural, advises not going too deep too fast.
Excitement helps suppress it.
Can do. And it tends to get better with practice, comfort, suggests gradual exploration, maybe using a toothbrush gently on the back of the mouth to condition the reflex.
Semen in the mouth, another potential issue.
Describes taste varying, mentions nutritional content, usually tiny amounts. Pragmatic tip, swallow it quickly if you plan to.
If not,
quietly remove the penis. Best to discuss preferences beforehand to avoid surprises.
genital odor concerns. Guide says it's natural, mostly about hygiene. Some are more sensitive. Suggests ignoring it if mild, or gently washing beforehand if both are okay with that.
Muscle fatigue, jaw, neck, mouth, it's a workout.
Totally. Advise changing pace or position. Communicate your needs. Don't just stop abruptly.
And that feeling of rising fear or panic near orgasm for the person being fellated.
Yeah, less discussed, but happens. Can be linked to other problems, intensity, mood, inexperience, even subconscious distaste. Losing control can be scary.
Advice?
Try to stay aware, compose during orgasm, address underlying issues with partner afterward. Safety and trust are key.
What about the person doing the fellatio feeling unsafe? Loss of control if partner is forceful?
Encourages awareness of fear, communication, switching activities if needed. Stresses shared control in the relationship, not just passive-active roles.
Okay, so that covers traditional fellatio. What about when the person being fellated takes the lead? Thrusting fellatio.
Right, urimatio, where the person whose penis is in the mouth is actively moving it. Romans supposedly like this style.
Different experience for the person being fellated, right? More control, active role, different sensation.
Definitely. Technique usually involves them lying on their back, maybe pillow under hips, fellator straddles, guides penis in.
Mouth partner stays relatively still.
Often, yeah. Person underneath uses hips to thrust. Takes practice to coordinate.
Variations. Rocking pelvis side to side, grinding. Mouth partner rocking head or using tongue with thrusts. Different positions.
All possible. Standing, kneeling too.
Potential complaints. Mouth partner feeling abused, thrusting too deep, violent, lack of control.
Yeah, the guide addresses those concerns.
Suggestions for improvement.
Thruster being mindful of comfort, reactions, pausing between thrusts. The stopper technique.
Right. Mouth partner uses hand on lower shaft for control and added pleasure.
Exactly. And stressing mutuality positions, allowing mutual fondling or self-masturbation for the mouth partner.
Got it. Now, mutual fellatio, 69.
Ah, the classic. Name comes from the body position, right? Lying head to feet or on sides, resembling the number 69. Simultaneous oral pleasure.
The special delight, according to the guide.
Mutuality. Doubled pleasure, warmth, equal sharing, intimately, giving and receiving at once.
Simultaneous orgasms during 69. Guide is a bit cautious.
Yeah, takes care, coordination. Might not always mesh well with the individual attention needed for full fellatio enjoyment.
So experiment if curious, but don't make it a strict goal.
Pretty much. Focusing too much on perfect timing might detract from the overall pleasure.
Variations, alternating sucking, doing it for a bit, then switching.
Paul mentioned. Sure. Also notes it can be a good relaxed way to work on gag reflex, as shared pleasure might reduce anxiety.
Okay, let's shift to a big topic, anal intercourse. The guide says historically the most common gay male activity.
That's what it states. And it starts by listing terms ass-fucking, humping, buggering, sodomizing, then points to its prevalence, not just in humans, but animals too.
Right, the animal examples, bulls, frogs, guppies, dogs, baboons, macaques, squirrel monkeys, porpoises, suggests a phylogenetic pattern.
Yeah, becoming more significant across the evolutionary tree, perhaps.
And human history, ancient Middle East, tied to androgynous gods, spiritually cleansing rituals.
Yeah, a form of sharing between person and divine, seen as pure and fraternal. Very different perspective.
Even sodomist relations between gods, Set and Horus in Egypt.
Mm-hmm. But not just religious. Also pleasure, recreation. Guide notes profane sodomy was rampant, even among ancient Jewish people before the later taboos developed.
Then ancient Greece, same-sex relationships recognized, anal intercourse common, enjoyable, healthy, even uplifting.
Right. Approached sometimes with humor, carnal assault, partners called dog modest, different cultural attitude.
Play a role in morality, educating young men, pederastia, giving virtue through intercourse.
Yeah. Guide notes in some cultures, a man wasn't up to standard unless he had sodomy experience. Shows how context shapes understanding.
Like Kyrgyz, the Spartan lawgiver, refused to consider a man a good citizen without a male friend as a concubine.
That's the quote. Emphasizes it was widely practiced by Greeks and Romans.
Quotes from Petronius Martial, mentions Caesar, Emperor Galba, paints a picture of a different attitude to pleasure, less guilt than later Christianity.
Exactly, lacking that pervasive sense of disgust.
Timaeus, the historian, among Tyrrhenians in Italy, relations with boys openly, active, or passive wasn't objectionable. Pederasty is a custom of the country.
Really emphasizes those regional and cultural variations back then.
But things changed with Christianity, harsher stance, fear of divine retribution. Some early thinkers saw all sexual pleasure as sinful.
A big shift. But despite doctrine, Guide says same-sex relationships remained fairly common in Europe through the Middle Ages. Anal sex likely continued more underground.
Mentions Celts in France, Normans in England, even Archbishop Anselm in 1102 noting it was so public people hardly blushed.
Yeah, social and religious feelings fluctuated, though. Openness, then punishable by burning. Used as a political weapon, like against the Knights Templar.
Shows how attitudes can be manipulated.
Different European states had varying tolerance, though officially condemned. After Renaissance, sometimes more open discussion. Lithgow's report in 1610 on rampant sodomy in Italy.
Right. Later scholar noting prevalence among Italians, Spaniards, Dutch, Parisians. Meanwhile, Mideast, India, Asia, less Judeo-Christian influence, same-sex relations continued, viewed differently.
Yeah. Persia, Iran, highlighted. Same-sex practices fostered socially, theologically. True love for males often met between men, praised by poets linked to higher virtues. Fascinating contrast.
Includes that poem by Muhammad ibn Malik, romantic, sensual longing for a young man. Mentions prevalence in North Africa, Afghanistan, Libya, Al-Qudai, lower classes in Hindu India.
Though frowned on by upper classes there. Flagrant sodomy among nomadic Asian tribes.
China, historically widespread, esteemed, sharing the peach anecdote.
Right. Duke Ling and Mitsusha. Nobles, courtiers, emperors openly engaged, especially during Manchu dynasty. Challenges the idea homophobia is universal.
Excerpt from Qin Ping Mei describing an encounter. China and Japan had widespread, honorable male prostitution traditions, deities of sodomy.
Incredible diversity in how cultures integrated same-sex sexuality.
And finally, primitive cultures. Majority sanctioned some form of male gayness. Anal coitus common. Marriage between men or men and transvestites, transgender individuals.
Right. Just underscores the variety.
Okay, so with that huge historical backdrop, let's get into the how-tos of anal intercourse, according to this guide.
Emphasizes learning by doing. It's a skill developed over time. Basic actions simple. Key is overcoming inhibitions, building rapport.
Stresses no inherent passive or active roles. Should be cooperation, mutual desire, unless dominant submission is specifically wanted.
Exactly. Basic position described. One person kneeling on elbows, knees, relaxing anus. Partner kneels behind, uses plenty of lube, gently inserts, while receiver consciously draws penis in.
Initial movements. Inserter uses gentle hip thrusts, receiver still or subtle hip rotations.
Guide keen to point out pleasure isn't just for the inserter. Anus is sensitive. Internal pressure stimulates prostate, if present, can lead to intense feelings, even anal orgasm.
Can enhance with mutual masturbation, finger insertion.
Yeah. Advises gradual exploration over time. Can take months, years to fully understand desires, achieve max satisfaction. Societal inhibitions, emotions often need addressing.
Benefits beyond recreation. Ego loss, merging ecstasies, spiritual creative aspects for some.
Mentioned as possibilities. Encourages honesty with self, finding communicative partner, experimenting with both roles.
Core message. Exploration should be enjoyable, mutually desired, not forced. Curiosity good, seriousness maybe less so. Playful, open attitude, then describes various positions.
Right. Ass person crouching, easy entry, good movement, thrusting, grinding, rocking, swaying. Downsides, tiring, maybe less prostate pressure.
Ass person on stomach, relaxing, free hands. Downsides. Maybe less easy deep penetration and restricted receiver movement.
Both on sides, same way relaxing. Free hands, easy deep entry, avoids pressure. Downside, limited movement.
Both on sides, facing each other, deep entry, full prostate massage, free hand mouths, decent movement after insertion.
Full front, ass person on back, knees to chest, shoulders, inserter face to face, easy deep penetration, good prostate massage, full inserter movement. Downside, limited receiver movement.
Standing ass person bent over, finds support, convenient outdoors, easy penetration, full movement. Adjust for height differences.
And a brief but important point. Different positions evoke different emotional feelings, connections. Explore for physical and emotional experience.
Okay, now for those anxious or fearful about being anally entered, guide addresses this specifically.
Yes. Starts by reassuring. Rectum is remarkably elastic, accommodating. Can easily, pleasurably receive even large penis if relaxed and wanting it. Anus isn't rigid, it's elastic pipe, muscle rings controlled by mind, emotions. Relaxation is crucial.
Addresses societal shame around the rear end. Challenges negative views, highlights anus as potentially erotic even if feeling suppressed.
Encourages self-exploration. Comfortable setting. Warm bath, maybe. Gentle touching around anus, progressing to idea of finger insertion.
Rectum sturdy, flexible. Not easily damaged by finger spinous unless force violence involved. Recommends trimmed nails. Mentions douching as option for cleanliness concerns, but not essential.
All covered. For initial finger insertion, plenty of lube, gentle, slow, consistent inward pressure while consciously relaxing sphincter. Acknowledges might feel strange, mildly uncomfortable at first due to learned associations, tension.
But with relaxation, positive mindset can become pleasurable, especially combined with self-masturbation.
Exactly. Once fingers comfortable inside, suggests exploring further, locating prostate if present. Describes pleasant, dull eight pressure when gently touched. Sharp pain means see a doctor. Recommends practicing squeezing relaxing anal muscles around finger for better control awareness.
Next step, smooth, round-tipped dildos. Strongly encourages open communication with partner about being new, apprehensive.
Definitely. Mentions analingus, rimming, and postillioning, finger play, as potentially soothing, pleasurable prep.
Dealing with tightness difficulty, often anxiety, tension, not knowing how to relax. Advises strongly against forcing.
Yes, painful, counterproductive. Recommends talking openly about feelings. Mentions soft, flexible rings around opening as potential relaxation aid. Touches on possibility of underlying mental blocks. Suggests self-reflection or counseling if needed.
First, penile insertion. Do it when both genuinely want to. No pressure. Rigid plans. Try different positions. Emphasize gentleness, patience. Some initial mild discomfort normal. Sharp pain means stop. Feeling need to go to bathroom, often temporary.
All good advice from the guide. For more receiver control, suggest squatting over partner. Limit penetration depth using hand as stopper, or positions like ass person on stomach.
After insertion, take time to get used to feeling filled. Focus on warmth, sensual pressure. Self-masturbation by either partner can help enhance pleasure, create positive associations.
Concludes receptive role discussion. Emphasizing enjoyment comes of letting go, receiving, giving, fusion of desires leading to wholeness. Mentions subtle skill of controlling anal muscles, stillness, jumping, thrusting, grinding, squeezing, enhancing sensation for both.
Okay, what about performance anxieties for the person doing the entering?
Guide stresses positive. Open mindset is key. Genuine desire to explore, willingness to cooperate, communicate, curiosity over pressure.
Acknowledges feeling clumsy is normal initially. Movements unique, learn together.
Yeah. Addresses performance anxiety, keeping erection climaxing. Penis sensitive to worry, stress.
Emphasizes shifting focus from performance to shared experience. Honesty, being yourself. Okay to go limp sometimes.
Totally. Reframing past failures as just events, not assigning blame. Suggests working with willing partner, starting slow touching around anus, finger insertion.
Recommends relax and receive position for beginners. Inserter on back, partner straddles facing feet. Less pressure.
Good starting point. Suggests prioritizing maintaining erection inside partner first before focusing on vigorous movement. Recommend sideways position, often allows more natural movement once less anxious. Open up to desire, experiment with subtle pelvic movements. Thrusting. Start slow, gentle, use hips lower back, not just arms.
Coordination comes with practice, communication. Match rhythms. Describes meeting style, deep, full strokes, and rhythm style, faster, shallower.
Finally, strong caution against forced entry. Reiterates importance of understanding, trust. Forcing into tight and relaxed anus is painful, can cause serious injury. Be extremely gentle initially. Stop immediately at significant pain. Larger penises need even more patience, gradual insertion.
Got it. Next technique, postillioning. Finger plane aware.
That's it. Inserting fingers into anus, maybe massaging rectum prostate.
Prep, index or middle finger, plenty of lube, spit, oil, Vaseline, and no soap.
Crucial. Technique. Start caressing outside in circles, gentle inward pressure, maybe wobble tip inside. Notes difference between tight relaxed anus, pause if resistance. Encourage relaxation. Receiver pushing out slightly can help.
Inside. Feel anal ring, soft rectal walls. Keep fingertip beyond immediate opening. Explore gently. Find prostate. Maybe stretch with 2 fingers.
Right, adds pleasure to other activities. Sucking, jacking off. Increases intensity during ejaculation, definitely highlighted. Withdrawal. Gradual, slight downward pressure with fingers, lifting hand.
Nervousness. Reassurance. Initial mild discomfort, bathroom feeling normal, subsides with relaxation. Generally safe unless sharp objects or violence involved.
That's the message.
Okay, now a more advanced, potentially risky practice. Fist fucking.
As the name implies. Inserting whole hand, maybe forearm, into rectum. Some report very intense erotic internal sensations from deep stimulation.
Possible due to flexibility of anus rectum, but approached with extreme caution. Only if truly desired, high degree of relaxation possible.
Absolutely emphasized. Technique. Bunch fingertips, copious lube. Insert very slowly, gently, letting sphincter relax gradually. Possible to fit whole hand forearm eventually. Requires strong desire, ability to relax.
Risks: bruising prostate, infection, irritating sore steers, piercing rectum, potentially fatal peritonitis. Guide strongly advises extreme caution.
Very strong warning. Needs thorough understanding before even considering.
Okay. Finally, rimming analingus.
Yep. Licking, tonguing, sometimes gently sucking the anus. Guide addresses dirty concerns directly. Admits small risk of STD hepatitis transmission if infected, but primary concerns usually aesthetic. Suggests douching beforehand for aesthetic concerns.
Highlights anus as delicately sensitive. Warmth, movement of mouth-tongue provide pleasure.
Techniques. Soft, wet strokes, encircling, rapid tongue flicks, inserting tongue tip, gentle lip brushing, light suction. Receiver pushing down slightly enhances sensation.
Combined with scrotolingus, oral on scrotum, emphasizes whole area between legs, often sensitive.
Good points from the guide.
The final section briefly overviews group sex, S&M, other scenes, acknowledges these are important but not the main focus here.
Right. Mentions fetishes, voyeurism, sex aids, drugs, just brief intros to encourage further exploration if interested.
Group sex, specifically. Challenges couple ideal, human behavior diverse, flexible, limiting ourselves might be restrictive.
Exactly. Historical examples, sharing partners, watching groups of couples, ancient Egypt, ritual public masturbation, Chinese opium dens, orgies in various cultures, daisy chains, in art.
Modern context, public baths, private parties, desire for sex with many in bathhouses. Facilitating group sex needs desire, group awareness, respect. Suggests friends might consider exploring.
Yeah. Anecdote about massage groups leading to sensual sexual experiences. Strongly stresses consent, no pressure or demand for conformity. Crucial point, getting started. Suggest just talking about it openly, honestly, with trusted people, activities, mutual masturbation, circle jerk, fellatio chains, anal intercourse in groups. Messages flexibility. Any arrangement consensual and feels good is valid.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, you can really see just how broad, how incredibly detailed this guide to gay sex is. A truly comprehensive exploration.
Absolutely. We've covered, everything from animal masturbation and ancient cultural acceptance to really nuanced techniques for fellatio and anal intercourse, and even getting into the fears and challenges people might face.
It really highlights the diversity, the historical variety of these practices, often challenging the taboos we might know today.
Understanding these different aspects can definitely enrich personal knowledge, foster a more informed, open perspective.
It truly does. Makes you think about how societies construct understandings of sexuality, pleasure.
Yeah.
So here's a final thought to mull over. Given this long, incredibly varied history across so many cultures, What does that really tell us about, the fundamental nature of human sexuality itself? And about the profound impact societal attitudes, beliefs have had on shaping how we understand and express it?
It really raises that big question, doesn't it? How much
Right.
of what we think is normal or taboo is inherent desire versus, well, cultural construction and historical bias? Definitely something to ponder.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. We hope it's given you some interesting food for thought.
Hope so.
Keep exploring, keep questioning. Until our next deep dive, take care.